How did he do? Good? Bad? Who knows? Let's find out. Hello friends, my name is Shayla and today I am here to do a wrap-up for you. So I've decided to do a separate wrap-up video for the books that my husband picked out for my TBR this month. I have now completed all of those books, so let's just dig right in. Of the 7 books that my husband picked out, I completed and really enjoyed 6 of the 7. So I'm going to go with my lowest rated, aka my DNF, and end with some of my favorite. The first book I want to talk about is Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. I ended up DNFing this particular book. So the reason for the DNF was the writing. The story was fine as far as I could tell. Basically what it came down to is I did not care about these characters at all. Not one lick. I did not care. Even though Han, Leia, and Luke are prominently in this book, I still didn't care what was going on. The author did not make me care about these characters. And I read 2 other Star Wars books that the writing was fantastic. So, spoiler alert, I really liked those. But this one I could not get into. I DNF'd this on page 107, and I have no desire to come back to this series. I know they've made Thrawn, Emperor, or Captain Thrawn, I don't remember what his title is. Yeah, I think Emperor Thrawn. I know they've made him canon, and so this becomes somewhat important to people, but I just don't care. So I'm not going to waste my time on something I don't care about. The author had the capability to make me care, and he didn't. So I will not be continuing this particular trilogy in the Star Wars Extended Universe. I don't care what it's called. I know it's called something different now, but I'm just going to call it the Extended Universe because that's what makes sense to my brain. Next up, we have a couple of 4-star books that ended up surprising me quite a bit. The first one I want to talk about is Timeline by Michael Crichton. So in Timeline, this is a very science-based time travel style story. So essentially, someone has discovered a technological way to travel to certain points in time. And as long as you obey the rules, everything works out fine. Clearly, people start breaking the rules. The company who's in charge of this project is afraid of being found out. More and more people are starting to learn about the project, and essentially what ends up happening is this team of historians ends up getting sent back to medieval times, or I don't remember the exact age it's called, but the 1400s, and there is jousting and knighthood and all those kind of things thrown into this story. It's absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I know there was a really terrible movie made in the 2000s, but I do plan on watching it and doing a book-to-movie comparison with it. We've got our hands on it now, so I'll probably be watching it sometime this weekend, I'm assuming, and we will go from there. And all in all, I really liked Timeline and ended up giving it 4 stars. The next story we're going to mention is Battlestar Galactica. Again, this is one that my husband wanted me to read because he eventually does want me to watch the 2000s reboot of this show. So this novel was actually written after the first few episodes of the original 70s Battlestar Galactica TV show, from what I gather. So this one is like the first 2 or 3 episodes of the original 70s series. Since that release, some things have changed. I know in the new series, one of the characters is a woman instead of a man, so some storyline stuff had to change there. So what I want to do now that I've read this is go and watch, there's like an hour and a half, like 2-part miniseries, basically entailing what they consider canon of this book now. So I want to watch that and then again do a book-to-show comparison and talk about it with you guys. So again, I gave this 4 stars. I did end up enjoying it. It surprised me. It is dated, so there's some really heathenistic, misogynistic kind of things in here. I mean, there's a total womanizer, and he is a womanizer to the T and a jerk about it. So beware of that if you're going to try reading this. It is very dated, so you have to take that into consideration as you read it. But all in all, the story is good, and I'm excited to explore the show now. The next book I gave 4.25 stars, and that is The Courtship of Princess Leia. And this one is written by Dave Wolverton? Yeah, Wolverton. Anyways, this is Han and Leia's end of their, well, not end of their love story, but the point where they go from dating to married kind of a situation. And all the bumps along the way. Essentially in this one, there is a prince of a land thrown at Princess Leia. He wants to wed her, have their worlds merge together. That way what's left of the Empire can move to this particular planet and hopefully live that kind of a lifestyle that's on this planet because it seems very utopian. Anyway, Han isn't going to let that happen, so he's sassy as all get out in this book, and it was a fun ride. I highly suggest picking it up. Again, I gave this one 4.25 stars. The next 3 books, I gave each of them 4.5 stars. I ended up really enjoying these, and my husband did a really good job picking them. So let's chat about them a little bit. The first one I'm going to talk about is from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. This is a middle grade story about 2 kids who run away to live at a museum. If I give you much more than that, it's going to give too much away. But I ended up really enjoying this read. I totally understand why it has a Newbery Award. I really think you guys should check this out if you haven't. Again, this was not on my radar as a kid. I really missed a lot of books because my nose was always stuck in the secret garden. And I have a video coming up about something about that, so stay tuned for that. But anyhow, check out from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler if you get a chance, because I highly suggest it. It's really a fun time. The next one is another middle grade novel, actually, and that is The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth Spear. So this one, we follow a young woman who is very ahead of her time, very feminist, especially for this colonial age, who ends up moving in with an aunt and uncle after her grandfather passes away, and the shenanigans she gets to in this town. There is a woman they call a witch who lives down on Blackbird Pond, and through circumstances she ends up stumbling upon this particular woman and forming a friendship with her. This book is a really fun ride. I really enjoyed it. I highly suggest picking it up if you haven't, as I do with all of these actually, except the first one I mentioned. But again, this was one that I missed as a kid. It's also a Newbery winner. Really, I've thought about doing a Newbery project where I go back and read a bunch of the Newbery winners and do my thoughts on that. Let me know in the comments down below if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing, because I'm really kind of interested to explore it. So anyway, Witch of Blackbird Pond, 4.5 stars. Go check it out. And last but not least is the last Star Wars book that my husband picked for me, and it ended up being my favorite, and I'm so glad he picked it out for me, and that is I, Jedi by Michael Stackpole. Michael Stackpole's writing was super engaging. I got sucked into this story so fast. Our main character, Corrin, I really cared about his story. I cared about him as a human. I cared about what was happening to him. Essentially, in this story, Corrin has a wife. He's happily married. They're considering having children. And all of a sudden, mysteriously, while his wife is out on a mission, she goes missing. And his Jedi senses kind of perk up, and so he knows that she is in trouble. So he goes on this quest to find her and rescue her, and ends up at Luke's Jedi Academy for a while. And he kind of does this slow journey, coming of age style story to find his way to his wife. And I found this wholly enjoyable and rewarding. I really enjoyed how everything wrapped up at the end, because it wasn't super clean, but clean enough. And I just really enjoyed it. This would make a fantastic, one-off story in the Star Wars universe. I wholly hope, they've been doing those little one-off, spin-off stories like Solo, like Rogue One. I think this one would make a fantastic one. If anybody who's connected to Disney and the Star Wars franchise watching this, please make this a movie. It would be fantastic. Because Corrin is actually an X-Wing fighter pilot. So, there's enough attack scenes in his ship that it would just make for a really interesting story, really interesting movie. Anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed this, so definitely pick it up if you haven't and you like the Star Wars universe. So guys, those are the books my husband picked out for me, and those are my thoughts on them. All in all, I think he did a fantastic job picking things for me. I am really happy with the results of this little experiment in having him pick out books for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyways, if you guys are interested in seeing somebody else pick out my TBR, let me know who you would think in the comments down below. I have brothers and nephews, and I have people I could bring into this, like my best friend, things like that. Or have you guys even pick a TBR for me and I would just let you know the options. So anyhow, let me know your guys' thoughts on that down below. Again, if you're new, I'm Shayla. Welcome. Please subscribe and hang out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video.